Hello, this is Seth Apter coming to you live from my studio in New York. I am so excited to be doing a Facebook Live, which you might be watching right now on YouTube. I am here to share with you 3 new stamp sets that have just been released literally a few hours ago from when I'm doing this live from PaperArtsy, one of my amazing companies that I work with. They're based in France. Cannot wait to get out there and actually see them on their home turf. Welcome if you're watching on recording, and if you are watching on Facebook Live, thank you so much for being here live. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to show you each of the 3 stamp sets. All right, so this is ESA 34. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stamps in this set. If you know me, you know that I am all about abstract, about background, about grunge, about things that are a little bit wonky, text, circles, scribbles, marks, X's, all those good things. Got a few extras here to share with you, and I'll take you through the artwork so I can explain that in a few moments. But this first set, ESA 34. All right, coming back to it. But right now I'm going to go to the second set, ESA 35. This is loaded with 10 stamps. That is the most stamps I've ever had in one collection. And I love this one. These stamps mix and match, work together, work with other stamps. ESA 35. And now we have ESA 36, the third and final set. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stamps in this one, including a jumbo. That is one of my favorites. These, by the by, in case you're not familiar with PaperArtsy stamps, they are cling stamps. They're deeply etched. And you can see, I'm not lying about that, my friends, deeply etched red rubber. So they are the perfect stamps to use for mixed media. So let me take you through each set, and we'll linger a little bit, and I can also share with you some of the artwork that I've made. All right, so this is ESA 34. Again, my style, very typical of me. You know, that stamp is the one text stamp here. I made up for only having one text stamp in the set by having 17 words. There's frames, arches, lots of X's, that big circly, squiggly circle. And I think my favorite from the set, which I'm going to be using over and over and over and over again, is that texture. Oh man, I cannot wait, and I haven't done it yet, to emboss that stamp. So let me just show you some artwork that I made using these. This is called Storyteller. The one stamp on here that you might go to first, that one, is actually not from my new release. It's from ESA set 28, but I included it because I needed to, and also because I wanted to share with you that all my different stamps work together. So there are lots of stamps on this one from the set. I think there might be 5 stamps. So if you look at the border here, all the way around, that border is made with multiple stamps from the set. All right, I needed to use one of the frame stamps. There are frame stamps in all the collections, all the sets. So that is that arch, that sort of wonky arch. I anchored it to the base. I kind of put a pretend clothesline, and I put in there Reach for the Stars, and I had some stars hanging too. I thought that was kind of sweet. And if you look really closely in the background, that stamp with those 17 words, that becomes the background. So it pulls people in, they want to read it. It's just another way that the stamps become very versatile. And then this is Doorway to Creativity, which also uses that same stamp, but in a very different way. It's really the highlight. And then it also uses the entire sort of squiggly, scratchy circle, and it uses portions of it off the edge, and then just a touch of that one right there. Oh man, I don't know. There's something about this one that really, really speaks to me. It's all about the texture. All right, ESA 35. I'm going to remind you, this is the 10 stamp set. This one Where do I start? There are 3 circle stamps. This one says, once upon a time in a land far, far away, which I personally think would be a great way to start a journal page. Maybe every journal page. That one says imagine. And then this is a larger circle frame made up of concentric circles. Just in case you didn't notice, this one is sized to fit right in there. This one is sized to fit right in there so that you can create your own nesting circles. Because these are concentric circles, you can fill each broken open element with color, with line, with scratches, with you can even journal around it, which would be cool. Oh, let me show you how I use these stamps. First, let's go straight to the circles. This one's called Imagine, and the smaller Imagine circles are nested within the larger circles. I purposely nested them in a wonky way so that these two would kind of be connecting in closer. And some of those scratchy stamps that are at the very top of this, I broke them up and I had them kind of coming out the sides. I also used the circles or portions of them all at the edge because I do love a good border and I'll make a border any way possible. So that's Imagine. And then let's stick with the circle theme. I have a feeling this one's going to get a lot of use from me. It's not just dots, but it's kind of dots with those lines, almost like negative lines. And I made a little ode to eggs. You never know what you might find inside. Of course, you might think that that might have a double meaning, but there's some eggs. And then in the background, across the whole background, smudgy dots. Yes, smudgy dots. And I just love the fact that while I could have stopped and just put them here and there, I just went whole hog with the smudgy dots. And then if you look at the edges, love those scratchy lines because I just love putting borders around my work. That is just the very top half or bottom half of that stamp used over and over again. This is called This Moment. And this uses 2 of the stamps. It uses that little splat. Small but mighty, I like to say about that. I just think it's so cool. And I love the fact that I chose to leave that gap in the center. Stuff can go through. And then it's that same stamp used in a different way, layered with words. Those lines I drew myself. I often love to extend my stamps. This is a technique, sort of. Extend my stamps either by just continuing the design or by adding different lines or elements or circles so that I even take my stamps and make them my own. So, all right, next. This one is called Kind of Beautiful. Really like this piece. It's kind of soft, maybe a little sweeter than what I usually make, but I got a sweet side, people, and I'm going to channel it. And the main attraction for me, front and center, is the double concentric stamps, concentric circle stamp. And basically, if you see that coloration there, that is my dye sprays used as watercolor. And if you look really, really closely, can you see it catching the light? That's also some of my dye sprays, bringing some bling to the background. And then if you look there, full on, it's that stamp that's dots and lines. It's that perfect contrast together. And then at the other end of it, it's just the same stamp, but just a little bit of it. And then if you look at the top, something as simple as that, those little X's, those are those guys. And then that is that stamp that I used. Is Once Upon a Time. This one has so many stamps. It's got the main stamp. It's got one of the scratchy stamps there. It's got a different scratchy stamp down there. And then that's a different circle up there. And that's the line and circle stamp right there. So that one has got that. It's got part of that. It's got part of that. It's got part of that. And it's got part of that. So one set allows you to create artwork that is so singularly different. I'm going to take you to the last set. No surprise, it's ESA 36. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stamps. It also happens to have the largest of all the stamps in the release, and one of my favorites for sure. It's a text stamp, but it's not real text, it's faux text. But I'm going to use it over and over again. And of the 4 samples I made using this set, 3 of the samples have that stamp because there's so many ways to use it. It also has yet another frame, the square frame, and it has the rectangular frame. But please note, do you see the gaps? There's gaps in it. When you get yours, some of the gaps might be cut, but you can go ahead and just look for the gaps and cut more, because that frame was meant to be used in multiple ways. You can use it as is, or you can just take, say, this corner and use that in the corner. You can use each of these as a line and create your own journaling blocks. They could be borders. They can connect things like I have here. This art was made quite simply, just to show you that if you do cut that, you can use it and place it in all different ways. It does not have to be a rectangle. And then the 1, 2, 3, they're frames. That is that square frame. And then, yeah, there's more. Look at the edges. See those little things right there? That's just the very tip of that stamp. Okay, so this got a lot going on. That to me is the star of the show. Of course, it's a postcard, so we got some canceled stamps. But if you look really, really closely, like closely, even more closely, underneath all these layers is that stamp. And it's used in such a way that you can barely even tell that it's that stamp. And honestly, my favorite use of stamps is when they disappear within the layers and you can't even really identify the stamp. So that is lost in translation. Got 2 more for you. All right, let me show you Dream. Dream uses, in a much less hidden way, the large text stamp. I love the background that it creates. And then if you look very closely, you see there's a lot of other marks here, many, many marks. Those are made with these other stamps down here. So this one is called Your Story. And it's small, but I think it speaks volumes. So this stamp to me is really interesting. It is that stamp right there, which when I initially designed, I designed it almost like roadmap tracks. Really, it was supposed to be for texture. My thought was it could be texture this way. It could be textured that way. If I put it both horizontally and then overstamped vertically, it would be crosshatch texture and I could fill in some of the squares. I even thought, and I will definitely do this, I could use that in my journal and that could be lines for a journaling block. Really cool mixed media lines, right? However, until I made this art piece, I did not think of these as little hangy dangly things. I love when elements come off from the edge of the art into the artwork, because it almost makes the art feel like it continues. And then again, if you just place it that way, what a great way to journal. Down here in those lines, which you also could journal in between, that's again that big text stamp, just used in a different way. This is that little square again, used in a different way, and kind of like it's a real frame, so I made it look a little bit like wood using my honey dye spray. And then what am I highlighting? I want you to look right at that, which is just one portion of that stamp, which again could be vertical, could be horizontal, could serve as a border. You could just use the dots, you could use just the lines, you could use just the kind of plus signs. You could stamp there and then stamp right next to it and right next to it and have that go continuously. variability, variety, so important. I want to thank you so much for watching. This has been so much fun sharing this with you. And I just appreciate the fact that you took time out of your day to sit and watch a video and to see what might inspire you and interest you. These stamps are available. You'll find the link right under there if you're watching on YouTube. And I just thank you all for taking the time to support me. Many, many thanks.